President Duterte's ambitious Build, Build, Build program is the centerpiece of his administration. With China's funding, it was set to usher in the golden age of infrastructure in the Philippines. 4 years have elapsed since China pledged $24 billion in investment to the Philippines. 27 deals were signed, but very little has materialized. What happened to the billions that China promised?
They're taking Duterte for a ride. He has done a lot for China, and yet, what did he get from China in exchange? Up until today, there are practically zero big-ticket infrastructure projects by China in the implementation phase. There are some discussions about a Chinese dam project, but we don't even know if it will really kick off or how large it's going to be.
One of the big-ticket investments, the Kaliwa Dam project, includes a series of dams which have been projected as a solution to Manila's water woes. Why has the project not got off the ground yet?
Compliance with all of the safeguards that the Philippines has for all of these international development projects. Things like safeguards against corruption, requirements for social acceptability, requirements for minimum Philippine labor, things like that, as well as the financial requirements. So China has not been able to comply with all of these stringent requirements.
There are technical bureaucratic constraints on the Philippine side that have slowed down projects, but we know that Japanese in particular and other projects have moved ahead. So this is not something that's affecting all projects. The other is that China has taken quite a hard negotiating line on these projects, by which I mean it is holding out on negotiations on financing costs to make sure that these projects are commercially worthwhile for China to do.
Darangan is a little piece of heaven at the heart of the nation's longest Sierra Madre mountain range. This is one of the most biodiverse areas of the Philippines. The beautiful Tinipak River, surrounded by lush forests and rock formations, is a main tourist attraction. With the construction of Kaliwa Dam, this area risks being submerged. The construction of the dam and its subsequent operation will require the relocation of over 1,000 families living here. It has, however, been stalled by protests from communities that could be potentially affected.
The Kaliwa Dam is located in the ancestral land, ancestral domain of the indigenous people. For thousands of years, they are living in the mountains. They depend their livelihood in the forests and the streams and the rivers of the mountains. All this will be eradicated by Kaliwa Dam. And what would happen to our indigenous people? Plenty of them.
I don't think it's a healthy relationship, this relationship between Duterte and China. It's a very toxic relationship that results in the victimization of the Filipino people.
While Chinese loans appear to be attractive, experts say that the loans are more expensive with higher interest rates than the ones from Japan. China has a pattern of funding infrastructure projects in poorer countries in exchange for regional access, a trend called debt trap diplomacy. The Philippines had other options to choose from. Options that meant less destruction to the environment or people's livelihoods.
Profit is always the bottom line, and that's why they choose to pursue the Kaliwa Dam project. For instance, the Japan proposal entails a smaller amount of financing, and definitely restoration of the rainforest and small-scale projects like microhydro and rainwater harvesting are not going to entail huge amounts of budget of financing. We run the risk of giving up all of these resources to China should we default on the loans that we are going to receive from them. And the risks are high. The risks of default is high.
Unlike other loans, say from Japan or South Korea, Those agreements specifically provide that there would be compliance with our requirements for social acceptability, meaning that the local communities would sign off on these projects as well, not just national government. But the Chinese loan agreement does not provide for that. And so I think the intention was to simply go ahead and build these things without regard for its impact on the local communities.
If you are driving across a bridge in Southeast Asia or riding on a rail, particularly in the Philippines, it's almost certainly built by the Japanese, not the Chinese. The narrative that everything being built in South Asia being built by China is invented by China because it creates diplomatic benefits for Beijing to pretend that it is the economic, black hole that nobody can escape.
Forget about Chinese debt trap. This is Chinese chimera. This is an illusion that they have used in order to extract concessions from China. So Duterte kind of looks like a fool, to be honest. And that has been used by the defense establishment to say, hey, we're not getting much love from China. The Americans, they may be imperfect allies, but they're the best insurance policy we got. So maybe we need to make an adjustment.
Several top Philippine officials have publicly complained about the backlog in promised Chinese projects. There's also been public pressure to take a tougher stance on China.
It's now painfully clear that Duterte has gotten nothing for this obsequious foreign policy. He has kowtowed before the emperor and he's received nothing in exchange for it. And that's just bad politically for him or his successor. It makes him look objectively weak. I think that Rodrigo Duterte is responding to the fact that his China policy has abjectly failed for the last 4.5 years. He is not any more pro-American today than he was when he took office in 2016. I doubt he's any more anti-China. But the fact is that there was an implicit deal between him and China in 2016 that he would push the Americans to arm's length and keep quiet on the South China Sea in exchange for money. He needed loans, investment aid, and none of that showed up. And so now he realizes that if he keeps this up, it only makes him look weak, it damages his political brand, and it hurts his successor, whoever he decides to anoint for the 2022 presidential run.
China is cognizant that Duterte is not in office forever. They're probably holding some of that money back and thinking we need to keep these as goodies to dangle in front of Duterte's successor to try and get leverage over whoever that is.